So it's finally here, the new Surface Laptop 7 with Snapdragon chip. Now we've bought the base model, so this is the Plus model, which is the 10-core version. There is also an actual Elite model, which is the 12-core version. Now we have also got the Surface Pro in the Elite, so we will be able to test both of those, and we will be doing plenty of videos on these devices this week, so make sure you are subscribed so you can catch up with all the content. But this is the 13.8-inch Surface Laptop 7th edition in the Platinum. Now this starts at £1,049 in the UK, but if you choose the other colours, then it does get slightly more expensive. So obviously this is just the basic, it's pretty much a silver. It can also come in the sapphire, the June, or the black. Now there's the laptop itself. What else do we get in the box? We get the safety guides, and we get a little quick start sheet. Other than that, we get the usual UK power cable, and we also get the little Surface brick with magnetic charger. Now, I mentioned this in the Surface Pro video, but I do really still love the Surface charger with the magnetic tip. It is just a very small magnetic adapter. They got rid of the USB port a few years ago now, I believe. But it is still handy when you've got your Surface on your desk using that magnetic tip. Easy to connect and stops people pulling it off your desk. So I do still love this, even though you can charge via the USB-C ports. Right, let's take a quick look around the laptop itself. This does look really nicely refined. So it is all aluminium, so you don't get the plastic bottoms like you do on the Surface Go. Feels nice and solid with some just nice curvature. On the right hand side, you literally get the Surface Connect port for the magnetic tip. That can also be used for the Surface docks, which is also handy. And on the other side, we get a headset jack, yay for headset jack still, a USB-A port, and two USB-C, which are also USB 4 ports. So not bad connectivity. So let's just quickly open it up. Now sadly they don't offer an OLED version on this one like they do with the Surface Pro, but in my opinion the IPS screens they've been used on these have been very good quality. So this is the 13.8 inch. They do also offer a 15-inch version if you want that larger size. But in all honesty, I think if you want a compact laptop like this, the 13.8 inch is probably the way to go. Now, like last year, we've still got a beautiful sort of aluminium deck. Now they coloured obviously the keys and the touchpad, which will match the colour of your laptop. So that looks really nice. So we're now going to just quickly set up into Windows. I'm going to quickly break here, then we're going to come back and actually start testing it. Right, so we're back. We're now up and running. Now, it did take a little bit of time because, as always, when you set up either an ARM or even an x86-based Windows laptop, there's always patches and upgrades to do when you first start your laptop. Now, the good news is it feels incredibly snappy. We're into the system and you wouldn't even know you're on an ARM-based chip on initial use. Now, I didn't even bother with the ARM chips last year because they weren't very impressive, but this so far has felt absolutely fantastic. Now, the 13.8-inch laptop screen gives you a lot of real estate to use, and I do really like that. And despite being a slightly lower resolution than the Surface Pro 8 and a slightly bigger display, it still looks incredibly crisp, looks fantastic. Now the only thing when you put it next to the OLED version, despite being a lower resolution than the Surface Pro 11 and a slightly larger screen size, everything still looks great and it's certainly not pixelated. It looks amazing. The only thing I did notice is when I put the OLED version of that Surface Pro 11 side by side with the Surface Laptop 7, you just realise how good OLEDs look, and it's a real pity that there isn't an OLED version with this 13.8-inch Surface laptop. Still, it's still a very good quality screen, and if you didn't have them side by side, you would be impressed with this machine. It's a high refresh rate, 120Hz panel that can dynamically switch down when you need it to, and so far so good. It feels very, very snappy. The screen feels very responsive. Brightness-wise, it does get particularly bright, which is nice if you're using it out and about. We will test it for the full review, and it is a touch screen, so you can just touch on the screen itself if you wish. I personally hate touch screens, but I know a lot of people do like it. Now, sadly, this year you cannot use the Surface Pen on these displays, but if you're going to use a Surface Pen, you're probably going to be buying the Surface Pro anyway. When we're actually looking at the trackpad and the actual keyboard, firstly, let's just quickly talk about the actual keyboard, and this is an absolute joy to type on. I've always loved the Surface laptops for typing, and this is absolutely no difference. It is an absolutely fantastic laptop to type on. It is backlit. You can't see it in this brightness. There's 3 levels of backlighting, and only if you're in a dark environment are you actually going to see that. But the keys are very clear to see and use. They're crisp. It is a really great layout. Now, as we move down to the actual trackpad, as I mentioned earlier, we've got the nice grey here to sort of match the sort of platinum version we've got. If you get a different colour, you'll get a different colour slightly keyboard and trackpad to match your model. It is a haptic trackpad, so you can literally click anywhere on the actual trackpad, and I really love that. Having used Macs for a little while, I love their sort of magic trackpad or whatever they call it. This feels very similar, and it's so responsive and it's so lovely being able to click anywhere on the touchpad rather than the old-fashioned springboard trackpads. So really glad they've introduced that, and this is the base model. You get that no matter which model you buy. Now you can also buy the 15-inch version of this laptop, as I mentioned earlier. It'll perform pretty much exactly the same, but you'll get that slightly bigger screen. So personally, I do think this is probably the best size for most people, unless you know you want that extra real estate, because it's a nice, pretty light, portable laptop, and that's pretty much probably what you're buying this for. Right, moving over to the actual speakers. Obviously, you can see no speaker grills. It comes up through the keyboard. Let's quickly just press play. This is at 50% volume. Let's pop it up to 80%. They are really impressive. So if you're using this for a bit of multimedia use, a little bit of light music whilst you're working, you're going to be more than happy with those actual speakers themselves. Now above the actual screen, we do get a webcam with Windows IR facial recognition. It logs you in perfectly, and that's one thing I love about sort of the Surface line. And the webcam looks and sounds like this. This is a test of the webcams and the microphones on the new Surface Laptop 7 with Snapdragon processor. Now, so far, I think the picture looks pretty good. And also, because it is an AI-based chip, we do get some of the AI features, such as the automatic framing. So let's have a quick go with that. Turn it on. Come on, are you going to work? Finally, here we go. Not impressive so far. This is a little bit slow. It's worked much better on the Surface Pro 7. We also get the eye contact mode, so I'm actually looking to the left right now. Hopefully this still looks like I'm looking at the actual camera. Let me just turn it off so see, am I still looking to the left? So hopefully, let's see how good a job that does when we actually play that back. Plus we get the background effects, such as the standard blur and the portrait blur. Now these are useful if you want to hide a messy room. So overall, I think the image quality is quite good, but I'm not sure what is going on with the automatic framing, which is not working well at all. Other than that, let me know what you think. Now moving over to performance, and as I mentioned earlier, I've bought the base model. This has got the 10-core CPU. You can of course pay a little bit extra for the elite version with that 12-core, but so far on testing this laptop, I've been actually really surprised. Now we've got the elite version of the Surface Pro 11, that's just sat right behind me, and testing them side by side in Geekbench 6, which is a native benchmark for these. In the recommended power setting, we actually got 22,044 for the single core, which is a really, really good score, and 12,196 for the multi-core score, which wasn't far behind the recommended setting on the Pro 9, which was quite surprising. Now, when we moved up to the actual best performance modes, we got 2,424 on the single core and 12,982 on the multi-core. Now, that did sit a little bit behind the elite chip, which gave us 2,700 and 14,000. So ultimately though, if you're not, you need the maximum power, I think you'd be more than happy with this base chip. And I think if you're using this for a day-to-day laptop, this is more than enough performance for most people. Now, when we look at the GPU, we scored 20,397. Again, I was a little bit disappointed in this. I was hoping for a bit more, but this is just a synthetic benchmark. We're going to be testing this in more 3D scenarios in the next couple of days. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that. And then finally, we did run Cinebench R23 also on this machine, which is a native x86 app, which has been obviously emulated for ARM, and we scored 8,300. So this is a few hundred points below the actual elite chip, but still really good performance considering it is emulated and only the 10 core. Now, obviously in the full review, we're going to be running more native apps and we will be testing more emulated apps, but we will be running the R24 version of Cinebench with native ARM, so we can see how well the CPU can perform in a long-term benchmark with these chips. But with regards to the actual heat and fan noise, I've been incredibly impressed. This laptop hasn't really heated up that much. There's a little bit of heat in the middle of the actual laptop itself, nothing bothersome like on maybe like a gaming laptop. And the fan noise only kicked in the Cinebench R23 test after a few minutes. Didn't even kick in on the Geekbench 6, so there is some really good improvements in thermal performance with these Snapdragon chips over Intel chips. Now, we haven't had enough time to test battery life yet, but we're going to be testing this massively over the next few days, as well as comparing to both Windows and Apple Silicon to see how well these Snapdragons fit into this product stack. But so far, on initial use, I'm really impressed this year with these ARM-based chips. I think finally, Snapdragon and ARM could be a big thing for Windows, well, for Windows laptops this year. And it's so nice to see, because the biggest problem I've found with Ultrabooks and light laptops is fan noise and lack of battery life. And this should hopefully solve that problem. Well, that's my thoughts so far on the Surface Laptop 7. Really enjoying it. I can't wait to start testing a little bit more. The coffee's on and there's going to be videos coming over the next few days. Now, any questions, put it in the comment section down below. And as always, thanks for watching.